Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Carver Cluster. Thank you for joining us this evening for tea. We would like to start off by doing a cluster roll call. So, if you can, please shout out your school or your organization in the chat and drop those in the chat for us now so we can see who is present with us today in the room. Okay, we have Carver STEAM Academy, Carver Early College. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Sylvan Hills. We have Perkinson. We have Finch. We have Carver Early College. Perkinson again. Welcome, everyone. Some more Finch folks. Board of Ed in the house as well, joining us. Sylvan Hills. So thank you, Stewart Center. Okay, joining us as well. So we want to thank everyone for joining us and being here with us this evening for this event. I do want to remind everyone and elevate for everyone a few meeting norms that we have for tonight's session. We ask that you please remain muted until our breakout sessions begin. Our breakout sessions will be about 25 minutes, and because we really want to use this time to hear from you and hear what is top of mind and top of heart for you as it relates to equity. Our APS staff will be here to listen and to take note. But we ask in your conversation and in your discussions that you please be courteous and respectful of all opinions and people's experiences. And so, with that, I would like to introduce our board member at large, board member Cynthia Briscoe Brown.
Good evening, Carver Cluster, parents, families, and community partners. And thank you for joining us tonight for tea, Talking Equity Atlanta. I'm Cynthia Briscoe Brown, one of your APS board members, and I'm honored to be part of this relevant and timely conversation. I'm joined by several of my colleagues as well. I know I've seen Leslie Grant and Aretta Baldwin. And if there are others, please call yourselves out because I didn't see you in the group. We'll make sure we recognize everybody. We've all heard the word equity, but tonight our district leaders will share what that word means for APS and why we believe it should be at the forefront of our work. We also want to hear from you about how we can work together to create a culture that encourages excellence for every student, regardless of whether they are affluent or marginalized, Black, brown, or white, identifying as he, she, or they, or diverse in their ability status. Every student deserves an equitable chance at success. With more, I'd like to introduce Dr. Tauhida Baker-Jones, our Chief Equity and Social Justice Officer. Tauhida, take it away.
Thank you, Board Member Briscoe Brown, and to all of our board members for being present and supporting us this evening. And good evening, everyone, again. As Cynthia Briscoe Brown mentioned, I am Dr. Tahita Baker Jones, the Chief Equity and Social Justice Officer here at Atlanta Public Schools. And I also bring greetings on behalf of our superintendent, Dr. Lisa Herring, who could not join us this evening. And I want to echo many of the points that she shared with us in sessions past. We know this past school year hasn't been easy for any of us. Some families were managing online learning while working a full-time job, and others struggled to put food on the table as businesses closed and jobs were lost due to the pandemic. Yet, despite this, you all still work hand in hand with Atlanta Public Schools to make sure that the success of our students was a top priority. And I and the APS senior leadership team sincerely thanks you. With your engagement and your support, we have navigated through uncharted territory successfully, and we are excited about the year ahead. During Dr. Herring's recent Reimagined Cluster conversations, we briefly touched on equity, but as board member Briscoe Brown just stated, tonight we will continue that conversation to ensure that every child is ready for post-secondary success. Whether that's a four-year college or a junior college, a trade school, or the workplace, we must prepare each one of our scholars based on their unique needs and skills. And our center here, the Center for Equity and Social Justice, will be a key part of this courageous work. And so I would like to take the opportunity to introduce you to some of our center staff. And we prepared a warm welcome introduction from our team members who are dedicated to partnering with you to advance educational equity in Atlanta Public Schools.
Niao, and greetings.
Hola y bienvenidos.
Bonjour.
Aloha.
Namaste.
Sawabona. Guten Tag.
Marhaban. Ciao.
Hujambo.
Hello.
My name is Quentin Stroud, the Equity Policy Analyst working at the Center for Equity and Social Justice.
Mi nombre es Joana García y soy la especialista en la comunidad Latinx en el Centro de Equidad y Justicia Social.
My name is Quentin O'Neill, the Coordinator for Supply Diversity with the Center of Equity and Social Justice.
My name is Ashley Reese, and I am the Administrative Manager in the Center for Equity and Social Justice at Atlanta Public Schools.
My name is Larry Wallace. I am the Executive Director of Federal Programs in the Center for Equity and Social Justice here in Atlanta Public Schools.
My name is Deirdre Smith, Organizational Ombuds with the Center for Equity and Social Justice.
I'm Rhonda Hudson, the Coordinator of Equitable Student Support Services in the Center for Equity and Social Justice.
I am Gina DeVoe. I am the Coordinator of Equitable Schools and Academics in the Center for Equity and Social Justice.
My name is Natasha Steed, Executive Director for Equitable Resource Strategy in the Center for Equity and Social Justice.
My name is Keisha Copeland, and I am the Director of Family Engagement in the Center for Equity and Social Justice.
My name is Katisha Kennebrew, and I'm the Program Director for Equity Strategy in the Center for Equity and Social Justice at Atlanta Public Schools.
I'm looking forward to joining you at T.
Bienvenidos al TE.
Welcome to T.
Welcome to Tea.
Welcome to T.
Welcome to Tea.
Welcome to Tea.
Welcome to Tea.
Welcome to Tea.
Welcome to TE.
Welcome to Tea.
Hello, my name is Dr. Tauhida Baker-Jones, and I'm the Chief Equity and Social Justice Officer for the Center for Equity and Social Justice at Atlanta Public Schools. Welcome to Tea.
All right. So we do have one additional center member joining us today who is not in the video. So I'm going to ask Emily to come off mute and just introduce herself and as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Emily Ward, and I'm the Coordinator for Equity Focused Professional Learning in the Center for Equity and Social Justice, and I'm so happy to be here with you tonight.
Thank you, Emily. And so, as Dr. Herring has shared previously, at APS, our mission is through a caring culture of equity, trust, and collaboration, every student will graduate ready for college, career, and life. Along with Superintendent Herring and APS leaders, we are working closely together to plan and strategize the work of equity and social justice and what this means for every child. And to do this, we need your help. And so I would just like us to first take a look and a step back to review what we've already committed to doing as an APS family and what our vision is for this work. And so our vision in APS is for us to, our vision in APS is for us to be a high performing school district where students love to learn, where educators inspire, families engage, and the community trusts the system. But to bring these words to life, equity must be the through line. To reach our mission and vision, we aim to grow each subgroup continuous and not continuously compare subgroups against each other. And we recognize that APS has one of the largest achievement gaps between race and class of students, but we are growing students. As you can see from this slide here, achievement grew in ELA and math milestones by 5% between 2017 and 2019. Black students grew 6% in math and 5% in ELA between that same time period, and the reverse trend was true for our Latinx students. Performance for white students also grew by 4%, and their growth was slightly lower because their achievement rate was higher. The table also shows that growth was seen in our ELL, our Asian, and our students with disabilities. And so when we transition to looking at our graduation rates, you see that graduation rates between 2019 and 2020 also grew. Yet there's still work to be done because there is variation across the board. Here in the Carver cluster, our high school graduation rates decreased by 1.1% at Carver Early College and to 91.6%, and also decreased by 10.5% at Carver STEAM to 58.3%. So the truth is we are making progress, but our progress must be more than incremental. It must be aggressive if we want all of our students to be successful. And we can only accomplish this through equity as our lens and keeping an intentional focus on every child. So what is equity really? How are we defining that? So at APS, equity is defined as being the quality of being just and fair, regardless of economic, social, cultural, and human differences among and between persons. And this is important because there's a difference between equity and equality. Equality gives every child the same level of support, and equity ensures that each student has the specific supports that they need so that they can thrive academically. And to foster a culture of equity and excellence for all, we must ensure that equity is at the forefront. Every student should be afforded the opportunity to come to school and have effective teaching, and our students deserve to safely and comfortably learn and be who they are. And the end goal is this aim that you see here before you, is that we've provided our students with the additional and differentiated niche resources that they need to meet their educational needs. So for instance, if a student enters APS reading several grade levels behind their fellow classmates, that student needs additional literacy resources. And let's say we have another student who may enter APS well beyond their fellow classmates, and that particular student may need new and innovative opportunities to remain engaged. So equity mandates that we look at students from where they are, and that we provide them with the supports that they need to reach their fullest potential and thrive. And once we do that, that's when we achieve social justice. And so social justice is achieved when the district has broken the predictive link between demography and outcomes. Now, what does that mean? More specifically, social justice is achieved when you can no longer predict how a student will perform based on their race, based on their gender, or even where they live, whether it's north or south of the I-20. And that's what social justice really means in this context. And so in order to achieve social justice, we must be equitable in our instruction and socially just in our instructional practices. Being equitable in our instruction means that our classroom instruction is relevant to students' lives, it connects to their interests, and it meets their needs. Being socially just in our instructional practices requires that our students see themselves reflected in the curriculum. And that means in a myriad of ways, whether it be race, class, ability, language, gender, or any other identity marker that our students hold, they need to be able to see themselves reflected in their curriculum. And our center, the Center for Equity and Social Justice, will support the district in achieving and accomplishing these goals. And we do that through a variety of ways, but primarily we support the district in providing equitable resources and supports to students and staff. This includes supporting bringing in wraparound services with external partners. We also serve as a gateway for managing equity-related concerns and questions from stakeholders. And our end goal is ultimately to support the district in increasing achievement and growth across all subgroups. And so now that we have a foundation for our work together and the work ahead of us, we need to get this work done. And we can't begin to do that unless we prioritize where we should start and focus our efforts and energy. And to do that, we want to hear from you. That's the point and purpose of this conversation. And we've created breakout groups for small group conversations for you to tell us more about your views and what's top of mind and top of heart for you as it relates to equity and APS. We're going to ask that our odd number groups answer questions 1 through 3, 1 and 3 actually. We have 4 questions, but are we going to ask our odd groups to answer questions 1 and 3? And we're going to ask our even groups to answer questions 2 and 4. And then we'll have an open-ended question that allows you to just share openly in free space what's coming up for you. In each of your groups, you'll be assigned a note taker and a facilitator from the Center for Equity and Social Justice, and their job is to be there to listen and to capture your voice. If you would like Spanish language support, please let us know in the chat so that our Zoom manager can link you with tonight's interpreter in our breakout room. And other than that, we are ready to talk Equity Atlanta.
Ways to find out what students are learning, then we can find, and maybe where the gaps are, we can find out what resources are best needed to address that. And our second question caused us to think about our desire to grow, if our goal is to grow global citizens and critical thinkers in our classrooms, that we want to make sure our education is relevant to current societal issues and needs. We talked about things like voting and gun violence in our communities, and we hope that everything that we're doing in our schools is promoting students who are not just test takers, but are true critical thinkers and grow to be engaged citizens.
All right, thank you, Lindsay, for that. I appreciate you. We're going to have group 3 present out now. I think that's group 2, but we will have you all present now.
Group 3, our presenter will be Ms. George. So thank you for volunteering.
Okay, hello, good evening, everyone. So the first question, what should APS stop, start, continue, and why? We discussed, well, one parent was very intentional about bringing up guardrails, and I'm not familiar. She kind of tried to explain what it was, but I know that it has to do with closing schools and the language surrounding how partnerships are made, giving the schools to partners. And we would like, it was just stated that that should end for our students. It's not good for the students in our community. And then it was also lifted up that there needs to be some more equity surrounding special education. Some of the suggestions that were made was that special ed staff, especially parapros, could be compensated better and have maybe, I'm drawing a blank, benefits added to their compensation package to keep good paras in buildings that help support our students. And also, are we doing both questions?
Yes.
Okay, so the second question, what can we do to make sure our students are academically prepared, fully engaged, and resourceful and driven? And it was brought up that we need more home skills, life skills, financial literacy type classes for students, especially our high school students who are leaving and going into college and the world, and they're not prepared for living as much as we would like to see them. And also that there may be a need for funding to be allocated towards supports for students who are falling behind in math. Also, more teacher input was mentioned as something that's necessary to help move this work forward, and that we should have community functions that allow stakeholders and people in the community to see who is representing their district and talk to them and share ideas that way.
All
And
right.
that's all we do.
Thank you, Miss George. I appreciate that from your group as well. And I am going to ask for group number 3, group number 4, which I think is group number 3, to present and have their person share out.
Okay, well, thank you so much. We had a wonderful discussion in group 3/4. I would like to ask Tiffany Castillo, who is one of our group members, to share out on behalf of our group. Ms. Castillo.
Sure. So we also discussed questions 1 and 3. And so the first question, what should APS start, stop, or continue? Many people mentioned the benefits of SEL and wanting to continue that to elevate student voices, and implementing or starting the implementation of strict positive reinforcement, or PBIS, and also increasing the emotional literacy education, especially at the elementary school level. Someone also mentioned the damage that we suffered from school closures are emerging, and that we should stop doing that. And again, also the zero tolerance policy on behaviors, especially with regards to special education students, and kind of revisiting those policies and procedures and protocols. For question 3, what supports are necessary to ensure that all students fit the APS graduate profile? Some people mentioned providing a variety of experiences and exposure beyond academics, such as home ec and financial literacy courses, and prioritizing wraparound services to ensure that we can meet students where they are and get them what they need. And that we should put some more emphasis into the early learning stage, so prior to pre-K and kindergarten, so that 0 through 5 age, and ensuring that our students are getting their basic skills, so reading and writing and math, so that students at every age can meet those basic needs. And then the additional comments or thoughts was engagement across the clusters, so having more discussions between individual clusters, and then an equitable distribution of resources. And then for specifically the Carver cluster, unifying the vision and the planning in the cluster.
Thank you for that, Ms. Castillo. And thank you all. Thank you all for your time. Thank you for respecting differing perspectives, and for your willingness to be uncomfortable for the good of the cause, and for healthy dialogue and conversation. In order for us to find real solutions on behalf of every student that we serve, we agree that it's going to take hard collaborative work and dialogue and conversation. Just so you know about our next steps, the information gathered from these teas will inform our equity audit. So we appreciate your honesty and your candor. We will pass this information captured in our note catchers to our consultants who are supporting us with that work. And that information will be used to guide the district's efforts to achieve equity. And we do have some additional surveys that will go, your answers will go directly to our consultants. You should have gotten the survey when you registered for the T. It has a few additional questions that will allow us to drill down a bit deeper into some of the equity work that has to be done. Ashley has also dropped it in the chat for us. You can help us by responding to the survey. We are also dropping that link there for you for those.
Excellent survey.
And so again, equity is at the forefront in Atlanta Public Schools. And in order to foster a culture of excellence and equity for all students, we must keep equity at the forefront if we are going to truly have social justice for all of our kids. So thank you all again for joining us this evening. We look forward to partnering with you for this great work ahead of us. That being said, I will invite Board Member Baldwin into the conversation, because I do know before we close out that there was a question or something that came up about the guardrails. And I didn't know if you wanted to speak to that before folks hopped off this evening.
Just a quick clarifying point of actually what the guardrails are intended to do. So, if I can be quick, so the board is in the process of shifting to a student outcomes focused governance model, which means that the way that we govern will be focused on student outcomes. A part of that process is aligning our goals and our guardrails with the community's and our vision and our values. So the goals align to the strategic plan in terms of the vision, and the guardrails align to the values in terms of engagement, accountability, innovation, and I am equity, of course, and I'm missing one. So, what the guardrails are intended to do is to accompany the goals and not dictating to the superintendent what she should do, but just telling her this is where we want to go, and these are the things that you cannot do. So, the way the guardrail reads, I don't have it in front of me, but it reads as a place of support. And it says that the superintendent will not allow struggling schools to continue to struggle without first doing a needs assessment and then providing for those needs. And if we do not see progress, forward movement, growth, then we need to engage and have a conversation about what do we do. And high impact is what we would expect to come after that. Because if we are not moving, then we would expect something that would move us. And there is no way a dictation that anything is to close or to merge, but combined with the other guardrails, we are to engage and have conversations with equity at the forefront and see what is it that we need to do for our students and for their better outcomes.
Thank you for that, Board Member Baldwin. And I will just double tap on that from the equity lens. We can't do this work successfully unless we have three things, right? We need to set priorities and goals, which Board Member Baldwin has mentioned. We need to develop a strategy around how we're going to achieve those goals and priorities, which is what the guardrails are pushing the superintendent and the senior leadership team to do. But then we also need to have metrics and evaluate our progress. So if we are going to make gains for all of our students, this is serious stuff, right? We're talking about centuries of systems and structures that none of us created, but that we all have a hand in dismantling if our children are going to be successful in the future. And we need some type of measure of determining if our children are moving, because kids don't get a do-over. They don't get a second chance at fourth grade or third grade. They get one shot and we got to get it right for them. And so we're talking about lives. And so when we are talking about goals and guardrails and accountability, that's important because as the adults and stewards in this district, we must hold ourselves accountable for ensuring that we're doing right by our kids. And it requires that we have tough conversations, that we have difficult conversations, and that we have honest conversations like we're having now, where you hold a mirror up for us and show us how we can improve, but then we also hold ourselves accountable for actually doing that. And that may mean making tough choices and decisions sometimes, but we're doing it on behalf of kids. And so I don't want us to lose sight of that and put the children at the forefront, because when we say equity at the forefront, we could really swap that out and just say our kids at the forefront, because that's really what this is about. All kids, not just some kids, not just kids that live in certain areas or that look certain ways or that speak certain ways or that have certain abilities, but all kids have to be at the forefront. And we're willing to turn the mirror on ourselves and do the tough work that has to be done to get this accomplished. But we need you all to support us in that process and hold us and all of the adults, in the teachers, all the way up to the superintendent, accountable for doing the work that has to be done. And if we partner in that way, we will see success for our kids. So with that, I do appreciate you all joining. I know this committed group here will work hand in hand with us because I've heard of some of the conversations that you all have had, and we're going to get it done, and we're going to get it done together. So you could hold us at least accountable for that. So thank you all. Enjoy your holiday weekend that's coming up, celebrating holiday weekend, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.